In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah. I bear witness that Muhammad is his servant. I greet all of you in the words of peace and our original language. Assalamu alaikum. Brothers and sisters, first let me express to you what an honor and privilege it is to have been chosen to open this year's African Black Coalition Conference. I am so honored, and I hope that what I have to share with you in these brief moments will be of value as you move through these 3 days. If we have a thorough knowledge of ourselves, and that means knowing our ancestry, knowing our history, and being cognizant of our experience, then knowing these things, we should not desire to be a part of the political union called the United States of America. This union of 50 individual sovereign governments whose organizing principle is white supremacy should not be a system that we want to be part of. However, what we do want, what we do demand, is that we be allocated a significant portion of land right here on this 2,000 by 3,000 mile continent, or part of a continent called North America, that our ancestors labored to build and to make one of the most powerful and wealthiest nations on earth. So we're approaching self-determination this weekend in this conference, and that should be our way of life. And we can't do that without the ability to be free to live the values that we hold dear. The effects of this system that we live in are to corrupt any person who buys into it, as we have witnessed in recent years and months. We cannot, beloved, assign another generation of our people to a corrupt, racist, sexist, materialistic system that is inherently contemptuous toward anyone who needs help. There is open dislike in this system for babies, for the elderly, for the sick, and for those who are struggling financially. We should not desire to be integrated into such a system. If we are in our clear, right mind, then we desire to go for self and set up an environment for ourselves and our offspring that is harmonious with our Creator. The human being is infinite. Anything that limits human development cannot be just. You and I must be allowed to be ourselves in order to justify our existence in this universe. Anyone who limits our development is our enemy. The laws which govern creation operate equally on every single human being. Every single one of us is created by the will of God. Every one of us has not only a unique fingerprint or a unique voice print, but we have a unique spiritual and intellectual print, and we are on this earth to fulfill a divine purpose. The laws that govern creation, as I said, operate equally on everyone. And beloved, death would be sweeter than having our children live in a system that denies us a full and complete freedom. During slavery, we were robbed of 3 sciences essential to an independent nation: the science of mating, the science of business, and the science of warfare. So we have a duty to reactivate, to restore, and advance in the next generation the importance of strong family units. That is the soul of the Black community. The family is the means through which we survived the horrors of slavery, Jim Crow, and even what we are battling now. The importance of not only producing children, but educating them in accord with what we need as a nation. We must understand how to set up and conduct business, and we must be able to defend ourselves from attack and intrusion. The police presence and the murders by police that are unique to our community, we enable that because we are not united. And what we call the hood or the ghetto, these are really colonies. We cannot continue to be random in our choices of where we live and base our choices solely upon our individual personal comfort. Instead of running away to white communities where we are not wanted and where we don't want to be, we should make our own communities a safe and decent place to live. It is a condition of the Black community, a condition created by design that provides our killers with justification for killing us. Economic deprivation leads to the destruction of the family unit, which leads to domestic violence and petty crimes and major crimes, such as drug trafficking, and that results in calls to the police. Our persistence in doing this in the face of them killing us demonstrates a lack of movement toward unity. You will remember the young woman in Fort Worth, Texas, who was shot to death in her own home. It was her next door neighbor who called the police because he heard noises next door. We don't have enough of a family relationship or a bond that we're able to go next door and knock on the person's door to find out what is wrong. Underlying the unrest sweeping the United States over police brutality is a fundamental inequity in wealth, land, and power that has circumscribed Black lives since slavery. The 40 acres and a mule that was promised to former enslaved Africans never came to pass. There was never a redistribution of land, never reparations for wealth extracted from stolen land by stolen labor. And so now it is time for us to focus on self-determination. We say we respect and love our ancestors, and I'm going to briefly, before I close, take you into a narrative that gives some insight into what our ancestors were thinking and feeling about their future at the end of slavery. We need a clear understanding of that phrase, 40 acres and a mule. General Sherman's march to the sea brought a massive regiment of the Union Army to the Georgia coast in December of 1864. What is not written of often in history, that accompanying that Union Army were 10 to 15,000 Black people, refugees, former slaves. They were suffering from starvation, exhaustion, illness, disease, and abuse. On December 19th, they were sent to what is now Hilton Head Island in South Carolina. On January 11th of 1865, Edwin Stanton, the war secretary, and other officials met with Sherman about this refugee crisis. They decided to consult leaders from the local Black community and pose the question, What do you want for your own people? On January 12th, Sherman met with 20 black people of Savannah. Now look at this, beloved. Black people in Savannah had already started building a community, and they were politically engaged in 1865. They had selected a spokesperson, Garrison Frazier, who was 67 years old at the time, a pastor of the Third African Baptist Church, and he had purchased his freedom with his wife in the late 1850s. Mr. Frazier said to Sherman, quote, "The way we can best take care of ourselves is to have land and turn it and till it by our own labor." All of the black people present agreed to seek land grants for autonomous black communities. And guess what the grounds were? They said racial hatred would prevent economic advancement for them in mixed areas. This is how insightful our people with no formal education, most illiterate, were in that time. So 4 days later, Sherman issued Field Order 15, instructing officers to settle the refugees on the sea islands and inland. 400,000 acres were divided into 40-acre plots. The order specifically prohibited whites from settling in the area. And by 1865, in June, there were approximately 40,000 free people settled on 435,000 acres. And though the mule was not mentioned in that order, many of our people received one that were contraband that the Union Army had. These Sea Islands, the Sea Islands Project reflected this policy of 40 acres and a mule as the basis for post-slavery economics. The special field orders issued by Sherman were not upheld by the federal government in the years after the war. As you know, almost all of the land allocated was returned to whites. And so, beginning in Louisiana, at the time of the Emancipation Proclamation, there had already begun a system called wage labor that became federal and state policy. That same system dominates our lives today and has deprived us, and that system is called jobs. And so as I close, beloved, remember, let's go after the reactivation of the three sciences that were lost to us, taken from us during slavery. The science of mating, the science of business, and the science of warfare. There is no definition of the word science that does not include one or both of these words, knowledge and system. That's what science is. It is knowledge systemized. You are blessed to be in a position to pursue a higher education, and you are blessed to be conscious and to organize and be part of a conference such as this. You are the future, and we are depending on you to unite, to overcome your differences, and organize a system under the set of principles that the original people of this planet follow. We are a spiritual people by nature. We are a righteous people by nature. A system is an organized collection of parts that are highly integrated to accomplish an overall goal. And so whatever our ideological or religious differences may be, they do not override what I said in the beginning of this. We have a common ancestry, a common history, and up to this very moment, we are sharing a common experience. May Allah, God bless you with a safe, loving, and productive conference. I am so proud of you. And I leave you in the words of peace. Assalamu alaikum.